This is episode 2 of Talking Baseball. In this video, we welcome back Ray Brown and pick up where we left off from his first interview. The highlights include stories about his 2 professional no-hitters, including the first perfect game in the Cal League, and why California junior colleges only play in California and don't compete for a national championship in Grand Junction, Colorado. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy this interview as much as we've had fun in asking Ray the questions. We'd like to welcome back Ray Brown from his home in Las Vegas, Nevada, to Talking Baseball with Last Raps Baseball. Welcome back, Ray.
Hey, thanks for having me again.
Excellent. Well, listen, Ray, when we left you last time, we were talking about, we were going through some of your younger years of playing baseball. And we had you through your high school, then junior college and college. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to come back to your junior college years, and specifically the second year when you played at Long Beach City College. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to find out, you'd mentioned to us that that year you were 11-1 with a 1.32 ERA. And of course, you guys went on to win the state championship. And I was hoping maybe you could give us a little insight about that year, who you played against, what type of teams who you played, what was your pathway to get to become champion of California?
Well, we had first we had to win our league, and in our league there was Cerritos, there was El Camino, there was Pierce, there was Bakersfield. Who else was in our league? We had about 8 teams in our league, and Cerritos was a top dog during those years. They had won about 2 or 3 state championships already, and what happened for us is that during the course of the year, they were about 3 games ahead of us. But back in those days in California, you had to play at the junior college that was in your area. Well, Cerritos had a couple of guys that were playing on their team that were not in their area. And what happened is that Joe Hicks found out about this. The way he found out about it was through we had a second baseman named Eddie Crosby. He played in the major leagues, and so did his son Bobby Crosby. Well, his dad was a policeman, and so what happened? There was an accident that Ed's dad got called out to. And 2 of the players that were in the accident were from Cerritos. And he knew who they were because he came to the games. And he let Joe know that these guys gave an address that wasn't in the Cerritos area. So then Joe had to decide, is he going to leave it alone, or is he going to go to the league and make a protest and see what they do? Well, he decided to go to the league and make a protest. And they got the penalty was, the games that those guys played in became losses. All right? And so they played in about 4 or 5 games, and so those games all of a sudden became losses. And so as we got to the end of the year, we had 1 game left. They had to play, I think, El Camino, and we had to play Bakersfield. Well, I think they lost and we won, which made us tied. And so there was a 1-game playoff that we played in Cerritos. And this game was packed because people came to see Cerritos just kick the heck out of us because Cerritos was a good team. Well, I started that game, and we wound up beating them 2-1. I pitched the first 6 and 2/3. A good friend of mine named Tim Brady comes in, a little left-hander, and he holds them for the last 2 1/3 or 2 2/3, and we wind up beating them 2-1. And then we got to play against San Diego Mesa, and they're a good team. Those guys can swing the bat. They had I think 4 or 5 of their guys got drafted eventually and went on to play pro ball. In fact, I played with an outfielder named Rocky Craig, who was from Mesa, and we played them in Long Beach, and we beat them 5-0. And I pitched the 1-hitter that game. A guy named Spence hits a triple off the right center field wall with 2 outs, and we hold him there, and I think that's our only hit of the game. So we beat those guys, and now we have to play Mount San Antonio Community College. And again, during the course of the year, they were probably something like 35-4 or something. They were really strong. And that was a best 2 or 3. Well, Timmy Brady beats them on Friday. We beat them, I think, 8-5. And then we come back for a doubleheader at Blair Field on Saturday. We lose the first game, and so I'm pitching the second game. And we win the second game 3-1. And then the next stop is the state championship, and we go up to play San Mateo in San Mateo. We beat them on Friday, and so the next day again it's a 2 out of 3. The next day we're playing the first game. A guy named Glenn Killingsworth starts the game, does okay, but in about the 8th inning he brings back Tim Brady. And Tim Brady had just pitched Friday. He had just pitched on Friday. Joe Hicks brings Tim Brady in for the last inning and a third. He holds them, and then we score 1 in the top of the 9th, and then we beat them and we're the state champions. But yeah, it was the California junior college baseball is always strong. It's a great place to play baseball, and there's just the population of California is the population of Canada. And the sport down there is baseball, not hockey, so you have all the better athletes playing baseball. So junior college baseball in California is very competitive, and it's very good. In fact, in 1968, our team, we were the state champions, the state championships. We were the state champions in '68, and we played USC in a non-season game, and they were the world champions that year for college. And we beat them. So we had junior college from California beat the team that eventually became the college World Series champions. So our team was pretty good. In fact, from that team, there was about 5 guys that went on to play pro ball. But so California college baseball is very competitive. And then when you get to the 4-year schools, it becomes even more so. The baseball roots in California are very strong, and where I lived in the Long Beach area, it's just really strong. There's just heaps of kids. So when I was in high school, we had 3 guys. I played in the Moore League, and Wilson High School had Eddie Crosby, Bobby Grich, and Jeff Burrows all on the same team.
Not a bad battle of the batting order.
And all those guys became major leaguers. And some people's opinion, they think Bobby Grich should be a Hall of Famer. He had he had some pretty good numbers, but again, we don't make those votes. And then over at Milliken High School, they had a couple 3 guys that did the same thing. So it was the Moore League's very strong, and junior college baseball in California is very strong. Yeah, so yeah, it was good.
And absolutely, Bobby Grich, with his 17-year career, and probably the one thing that would hold Grich back was he was a .266 hitter, though he played most of his career at second base, and he was a 6-time All-Star. Probably if he had about 15, 20 points higher for second base, the batting average would carry him in. He didn't really steal enough bases at the big league level, but the rest of his game was pretty good, and he won a number of Gold Gloves. So there could be an argument. And maybe now that they've had the recent committee where guys like Ted Simmons have just got in this year, and a couple of years ago they've had some different guys make it in that didn't get through in the first ballot. I think Harold Baines was another. There might be an opportunity for Bobby Grich to get his way into the Hall of Fame. Maybe we'll start the Bobby Grich campaign right now.
Or else, even like talking about guys like Don Mattingly. I think Don Mattingly should be a Hall of Famer. But again, I don't make the post. That guy, I got to hear him and Tony Gwynn talk about hitting one time. We had the coaches convention in San Diego there, and so you have Tony Gwynn and Don Mattingly talking hitting. It's just those guys knew exactly what they did when they went to the plate. They knew exactly what adjustments they had to make. They knew exactly what they were looking for. They knew what they could hit and what they couldn't hit. It was just to hear them talk about hitting was wow. It was an experience. And then George Brett was there selling his bats, and so when when Gwen was talking to the whole crowd, he needed a bat, and here comes George to give him a bat. I got a bat for you, he says to Tony, and Tony Gwynn, geez, Mr. Brett, thank you very much. But it's and again, all those guys are out of California. George Brett's out of El Segundo. There was a guy named Wayne Simpson and a guy named Craig Swan, both major leaguers. They pitched against each other in high school. And Milliken won the game, I think, 2-1. Well, I played with a guy named Jimmy Smith. Jimmy Smith was the catcher for Wayne Simpson in high school, and they lost the game because Jimmy Smith couldn't catch him. Simpson was throwing in the 90s the same as Swan. Well, Simpson had a guy struck out. Smith couldn't catch the ball. It got by him, got on first, stole second. They butt him to third, and he scored on a fly ball. And I think the score was 2-1. And so the reason I know this is because in 1972 when I played in Waterloo, Iowa, Jimmy Smith was on my team, and we were talking about that game. He goes, "Yeah, Brownie, I was the catcher," and we all just laughed. And we said, "Well, now we know why you became an outfielder."
We're joined again here by Ray Brown from Las Vegas, Nevada, and we're talking baseball. And Ray is taking us through the national championship season with Long Beach City College, and in his first and second years while he was at school. And so, Ray, let me ask you a question. Why is it that California schools don't compete against for the national championship in Grand Junction, Colorado each year?
That's a good question, Fred, and because that was on my mind also. And so after our season in '69, I asked Joe Hicks, who was our coach at Long Beach City. I said, "Joe, how come we don't play in the national championship?" He says, "Well, Ray, what happened? This is how the story was told to me. So what happened is in the '50s, when they wanted to start the national championship for junior colleges, California says we don't want to join. We don't need you. All right, we're big enough. We don't have to travel any place. We're good enough that we can just stay right here and have our own state championship." And so they started the national championships without California. Well, I think in the early '60s, after it was established as a pretty good showcase for players, California went to the junior college meetings and they said, "We'd like to become members of the National Association so we can go to the World Series." And they says, "We don't need you. You were quite happy being in California by yourself." And so that's why the California has a state championship, has a state champion, and that's as far as they can go because the junior colleges in the United States decided that they didn't need California anymore. When they needed California, California thought they were the big dog and they could do what they wanted, and they did. And so that arrogance, I think, has cost it cost the California junior college system for baseball the opportunity to be a national champion.
Now, you mentioned that back in your era there in the late '60s that players could only go to junior colleges in the areas where they live. And obviously that's changed more recently. And obviously you've got kids from other parts of United States and Canada and Puerto Rico and around the globe coming to play in the California junior leagues. Do you think that still though might give California a competitive advantage over other parts of the United States because of weather to be able to attract quality players to come into the California JUCOs? Oh,
there's no doubt. If you want to play at a competitive level of baseball at the college level, I would think California is a place to play. Now, Arizona is good also because they have the same kind of weather. But there's more people in California. The baseball, I think, is stronger in California. Even though all the spring training is done in Arizona, I think California is still a stronger college system. So you have all the international players coming in, plus the players that live there. But to go play in California, it's pretty costly because there are no scholarships. Well, when I was, I think until the 80s, maybe late 80s, early 90s, there were a couple of schools in California that could offer scholarships. One was Santa Maria, Ellen Hancock up in Santa Maria. They could offer scholarships because they were located in an area that had a very small population. And when I was coaching Team Alberta in Alberta, we sent a few guys there, and they did very well. And then there was Indian Hills had a coach named Cam Walker. Well, Cam Walker was from Ontario, and he would take some of our players in. Again, they could offer scholarships. But in California, there was only a couple. Well, now that's all changed because the money's not the same anymore. So if you're going to play junior college baseball in California, it's going to be very expensive.
We're joined again by Ray Brown, who is with us from Las Vegas, Nevada, and we're talking baseball. And Ray, one of the other questions that I was going to address with you is that once you finished your 2 years of junior college at Long Beach City College, and you moved on to Long Beach State, what was the pathway for that for you? Were you recruited, or were you looking to go to any other schools, or was anybody else knocking on your door, or what opportunities did you have after your first 2 years of junior college?
Well, because I had a very good year. That year I was drafted by the Royals in some round that they don't have anymore. It was pretty low, but I was drafted. Here's a funny story on that. During that year, I got my notice from Uncle Sam that I had been drafted into the Army. Well, I was still in school, so I went to Joe Hicks and I says, Joe, I just got my greetings from Uncle Sam. He says, he laughs, says, you better go see admissions to find out what happened. So I go to admissions, I show them a letter, and they say, we'll take care of it, and they write a letter to the draft board, and everything worked out fine. So I got my 2S reinstated, and I was back in school. Well, my mom was very worried that I got drafted. I said, Mother, it'll be fixed because I'm in school. Well, that year, because I had a good year, I was drafted by the Royals. And so at our team banquet, Joe Hicks is saying, Eddie Crosby, Ray Colin, Glenn Berberette, Ray Brown, we want to congratulate you all because you've all been drafted. And my mom's sitting there, she goes, I thought you got that fixed. And I said, Mom, this is a good draft. And I had to explain to her that it was the baseball draft. But anyway, so they came to my house. They made me an offer, and I decided to stay in school. I didn't think I was mentally ready to go play baseball yet. I think if I'd have went out, I'd have been released after that first half season. Professional baseball is not only the physical component, but the mental component. Your mind's got to be ready to understand it's a job. And you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days, and you got to know how to fix yourself a lot of the time, especially back in those days. All teams had roving pitching guys and roving hitting guys. So if you were in a pitching slump, you had to fix it. Well, after one good year, I wasn't ready to fix anything. I was just trying to repeat what I did. So I decided that I was going to stay in school. And again, I was fortunate because I had offers from Pepperdine, Colorado, University of Arizona, Chapman, and Long Beach State. And I picked Long Beach State because Gonzalez said, "You come here, you're going to pitch." I said, "Wow, okay." And it was close to my house. So it was 5 minutes to my house to go to school, and all I needed was books and tuition because I could live at home. And so I decided to go to Long Beach State. And our first year, which was his first year, we were league champions, and we went to play Santa Clara in the first round for the College World Series, and we lost 2 out of 3 up there, and so we were out. Then my second year was okay. I didn't get drafted in '71, but I called Rosie Gilhousen, who was the scout who had drafted me in '69, and I said, yeah, I'm looking for an opportunity. He says, call me in an hour. Call him and he says, yeah, can you leave tomorrow to Billings? I said, I can leave right now to Billings. And so the next day I caught a plane and on this plane was George Brett and a guy named Craig Perkins and a lot of guys, Rocky Craig, all these guys that we had played against, except for Brett he was a high school guy. But all the college guys that I had played against, they were on that plane that got dropped by the Royals. So off we went to Billings. And, and I had a pretty good year in Billings. In fact, I think I still have a record in Billings. I have the most consecutive scoreless innings. I think I have 38 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings. And, And that'll probably never be broken because guys don't pitch 9 innings anymore. They pitch 4 or 5 when they're done. So it's...
We're joined by Ray Brown from his home in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we're talking baseball. And Ray, one of the things we wanted to ask is the transition from college baseball into pro ball. So obviously you were drafted in '69 after your sophomore year, and you didn't sign professionally until 1971. That was when you started to make the foray into pro ball. Maybe you want to take us through a little bit where you were stationed or outposted, and then also what it was like playing in the league that you were in.
Well, so in '71 I signed with the Royals. We caught a plane in Los Angeles and we flew to Billings, Montana, and because it was still the Pioneer League, so we played in the Pioneer League and we played at Cobb Field, and Cobb Field was named after Ty Cobb. He had helped, I guess he was one of the investors there in the beginnings of baseball or something, so they named the field after him. So we played out of Old Cobb Field. And there was myself on that team, George Brett, a guy named Mark Littell, a guy named Steve Staggs, a guy named Joe Zeb, Greg Perkins. We had a good team. We had a mixture of college guys and some high school guys. Our team was pretty good. So we're going to start the season on the road. So we catch a bus at noon out of Billings, and we're going to Caldwell, Idaho. We get to Caldwell, Idaho at 4 in the morning. The bus driver, got lost. So we're going to play that night. Well, luckily we didn't have to play that night because it rained and the field was just mud. And we were happy about that. But we got off the bus and one of our guys says, "Well, guys, welcome to professional baseball." So we got $5 a day meal money. No, that's a lie. In Billings, when the first part of the season, we only got $4 a day meal money, and then our second month they gave us a raise to $5 a day meal money. But $5 went pretty far in 1971. You could stop at McDonald's and eat for $1, Yeah, so $5 was okay back in 1971, but but in that league we had Caldwell, Idaho, we had Twin Falls, Idaho, we had Idaho Falls, we had the little town Ogden, Utah, then we had Great Falls, and we had Billings. So I think those were the 6 teams in the league at the time. So
Was this considered Pioneer League?
The Pioneer League, yes. Yeah, it was the Pioneer League. And Great Falls, and we had Great Falls. So those were the teams in the league. We had a good year. We're tied with we're 1 game behind Great Falls, last game of the season. If we beat Great Falls, we'll tie for the league championship. Well, they beat us, I think, 3-2 or something. So we finished 1 game out of the championship. Back in those days, there was no playoffs. If you won the league, you won the league. So I was pretty fortunate. Every year that I played, our team was always a contender. We were always first or second, and a couple of times we played for the championship. So yeah, I played on some pretty good teams. Probably the biggest transition you make from college to professional baseball is the daily grind. You're playing every day. And so you have to, if you can't make that mental adjustment, you're not going to last long in this game. you have to learn to accept there's going to be days when you have good days, days when you have bad days, and overcome the bad days so you don't have as many bad days as you want to have as good days. And back in those days, like I said, there were no psychologists around or hitting coaches or pitching coaches. That they were roving guys. So a lot of that was done on your own. The mental toughness to overcome the bad days, and then try to repeat the good days. And it's yeah, but it's it's a learning thing, and you learn how to survive. And what you learn, what I learned out of it is that when they sign you, they tell you if you put up the numbers, you're going to dance. Well, I put up some pretty good numbers, but I never got out of A ball, and as at the time I couldn't understand it. I knew there were the guys around me that threw a whole lot harder than me, but my numbers were much better than theirs were. And as I got older, I finally realized, well, it's not so much for a pitcher. Pitchers and position guys are different. If you're a pitcher, you can put up good numbers, but you need to be projectable. All right. So if there's a guy putting up numbers not as good as yours, but he's throwing the ball 10 miles harder, and his breaking ball is a little sharper, they're going to give him the opportunity before they're going to give it to you, because he's more projectable. So you're looking for guys who are going to get major league guys out, not minor league guys out. Where with a hitter, this is just my opinion. With a hitter, if you hit at each level, they're going to move you because you can hit, and they're going to move you until you fail. All right, because if you're hitting, if you're going to hit in rookie ball, they're going to move you to A ball. You're going to hit in A ball, move you to double A ball. Especially, as you see nowadays, there's some hitters and some pitchers. They start out in A ball, and at the end of the year, they're in the major leagues. So they make 3 jumps in that one season because they're exceptional. There was some pitcher, I think this past season with I think the Blue Jays. He only walked about 4 or 5 guys that had about 100 strikeouts, and so he made those steps, and he got his chance to pitch in the major leagues after 1 year. And with a hitter, if you're hitting, they're going to move you. They're going to move you, and some of that is those. The Blue Jays are a good example. They got some of those guys up there that they proved that they can hit in the minor leagues. We're going to see if they can hit in the major leagues. Where there'll be other guys, if they're pitchers, they can prove they can pitch at A or double A, but we don't think they can go to the major leagues, so that's where they're going to stay. So I think it's not always true what they tell you, that if you put the numbers up, they're going to move you. But you know what? It was 4 great years. It's a great experience, and it's something that I'll always remember.
We're joined again by Ray Brown from his home in Las Vegas, Nevada. And Ray's been talking about his time in the minor leagues and his first foray into Billings, Montana, and with the Kansas City Royals. So would that be considered rookie ball or A ball at that level?
That was rookie ball. Yeah, it'd be the same as a Northwest League. Now it's called High A. Well, the Pioneer League would have been High A League.
Actually, Northwest, I think today is now Low A.
Low A, I'm sorry. Low A, I'm sorry, yeah. The California League would be High A. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, California League is High A. So you got a chance to play in that league, and there's obviously for those fans and for those people that live in that area, there's not a whole lot of stuff going on other than to come out and watch you guys play ball. And so, what was it like experience-wise, riding the buses and getting a chance to play in some of those smaller towns?
Well, it's baseball, and I think as a player, you're not too focused on the fans. You're more on your performance and what do you have to do to get to the next level. So you're more concerned about yourself, about getting people out or hitting the ball hard, those kinds of things. The fans were okay. We never played in front of any unruly fans. I remember when I pitched that no-hitter in Idaho Falls. They broadcast the first 7 or 8 innings, and then the broadcast was over. So we went to eat, and there was some people in the restaurant saying, "Well, did he get his no-hitter? Did he get his no-hitter?" And they said, "Yeah, he got it." But In Idaho Falls, when the game was over, the fans gave me a standing ovation. It was nice. It was and so you move on and it was fun playing in Billings. The baseball fans in Billings were very knowledgeable. They appreciated our team. They appreciated how we went about our business, and it was a nice place to play. In fact, that was the first time I had left California to go play for an extended length of time. And I said, wow, if I ever leave California, I wouldn't mind living in Billings. It was nice. It was nice and clean. You could breathe the air, and people were friendly. It was nice.
So you, in your professional debut, you threw a no-hitter.
In my start.
In your so your first.
What happened is that I started the year not real well. I had a problem with my back, and so I wasn't pitching as well as I should have been. And so I think I pitched about maybe 5 or 6 innings, and it was ugly. I think it was ugly. And then he brought me in, did a good job. He brought me in, I did a good job, and he brought me in again, I did a good job. Then he said, Brownie. His name was Gary Blaylock. He was from Gideon, Missouri. He goes, Brownie, you're pitching tomorrow. Tomorrow was August 15th. And so we get to Idaho Falls. It's the third game of the 3 games. He gives me the ball, and I get warm in the bullpen, and I go out to pitch in the bottom of the first inning. We get the first guy out. I go 0-2, hit the next guy, and so I'm mad. I'm yelling at the umpire. He didn't get out of the way, and my catcher quick brings. He say, hey, don't worry about that. We're gonna be fine. Well, so now we go 3-2 on the next batter, 1 out. So we strike him out and we throw him out. And then I got the next 24 in a row. So in that game, it wasn't a perfect game because there was a guy who reached first base, but I only pitched to 27 batters. And there was a friend of mine who played on that team. His name was Darryl. He played for the Angels for a long time. And the next day, and the next time they came to play in Billings, I pitched against him again. And I shut him out. So that was the first game of a doubleheader. So I pitched him 2 times and 16 scoreless innings on him. Well, after I threw the no-hitter against them, their manager, he said, Brownie, our manager, he reamed our butts for an hour in the clubhouse saying, how can you let a guy like that no-hit you guys? That guy can't get nobody out, blah, 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 blah. And the next time I shut him out. So it was, I didn't throw real hard, but I had pretty good location. I had a good breaking ball, and my fastball was they call sneaky fast because I guess I hit it pretty well, and all of a sudden it was there. But my velocity was maybe in the mid-80s. If I were playing nowadays, I wouldn't get a sniff. In fact, I went to watch Las Vegas play, the UNLV play, and Greg Maddox's son is a pitcher for that team. I've seen him pitch a couple, 3 times, he throws maybe like me. He might even throw as hard as me. And I've seen him pitch 3 times, and if you went and checked his numbers for this season, he's got very good numbers. And I'm sitting there with a scout for the Padres because I do some bird dogging for the Padres, and we're talking about Maddox's son. He's but blah blah because the gun doesn't say 98, and so then we'll look at him. I said, watch him pitch, and I said that James, I says the difference between scouts nowadays when I played, the scouts watched him pitch. Can he get people out? What's he doing to get people out? And Max's son, he can pitch. He can pitch. But will he get a chance to play? He may get a chance to play because of his dad. All right. You have a Hall of Famer who's in your corner. He might go to the Braves, and the Braves might give his son a chance to play. The same as Piazza with the Dodgers. Well, he was the godson of Tommy Lasorda. And so the Piazza's son goes to the Godfather, and Tommy goes to the manager. Oh, come on, give him a chance. Give him, any guy's a Hall of Famer. So sometimes, you never know what's going to happen. You never know.
He was also drafted, I think, in the 60th round, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, he was but only because of Lasorda. Nobody wanted him, but because he was Tommy Lasorda's godson.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll draft him. And way at the bottom, he might have been the last pick of the whole draft.